Let's begin with the foundations. Welcome to another lecture. I am Professor Alexei, and today we will examine with both curiosity and a little dry empiricism the career of Nelly Korda. You will hear numbers and context, and, if we do our job, why any of this matters beyond the leaderboard.
Hello everyone. I am Priyanka, a doctoral student, and I guess today I am the one asking the deceptively simple questions. Professor, I am ready to be convinced that a golf swing can carry an economy of ideas.
To frame our discussion, Nelly Korda is an American professional golfer on the LPGA Tour. Think of a rising star who did not plateau. She turned professional in 2016, debuted on the LPGA in 2017, and proceeded to assemble wins across continents, culminating in Olympic gold. In simpler terms, she travels the world, wins a lot, and tends to do so in places with different grasses, winds, and time zones. That is to say, this is not trivial.
Maybe the best place to begin is by asking the question, what exactly counts as elite here? Is it the medals, the majors, or the consistency? Because, for many of us, golf looks like a very long walk with occasional applause.
It's important to understand the taxonomy. Korda is a four-time major champion, with victories at the 2021 Women's PGA Championship, the 2024 and 2026 Chevron Championships, and the 2026 U.S. Women's Open. She owns 24 professional titles, including 19 on the LPGA Tour, 3 on the Ladies European Tour, 1 on the Symetra, now Epson, Tour, and an Olympic gold medal from Tokyo in 2021, where she became the first American woman to win individual golf gold since 1900. She has spent over 100 career weeks as world number 1, crossing that milestone in June 2025, and in 2024 won 5 consecutive starts, joining Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorenstam in that exceedingly short club. Fundamentally, this is not just elite, it is historically rare.
Building on that, the global piece stands out to me. Wins in Asia, Australia, Europe, and North America. It makes me wonder if adaptability is the hidden statistic in golf careers.
We observe precisely that. The record shows victories in Taiwan and Australia early, LET titles in France, Spain, and England, a developmental breakthrough in Sioux Falls in 2016, and then sustained LPGA success in the United States. In rankings terms, the Women's World Golf Rankings operate on a 2-year rolling average. Korda's sustained high finishes and clustered wins in 2021, 2024, and 2026 explain her multiple ascents to number 1 and the 100-week total. Mathematically, streaks of that density bend the average in your favor for a long time.
Moving on to why it matters. In women's sports, visibility has lagged demand for a long time. When an athlete wins an Olympic gold and multiple majors, the narrative and the market kind of shift, right?
Clearly, Korda's 2024 season, 7 LPGA wins and Player of the Year, came with Sportico ranking her 8th among female athletes globally at $14.4 million in combined prize money and endorsements. Sponsors such as TaylorMade, Nike, Delta Airlines, and T-Mobile US placed her in a cross-industry portfolio. The symbolic stakes are non-trivial. Every dominant week normalizes women's golf as a prime-time product rather than an asterisk in the sports calendar. In this context, performance functions as both outcome and argument.
Can we now look at a few basics people might not know? The family background is almost cinematic. Tennis champions, golfers, all performing on Australian soil at various points. And then there is the ranking piece. More than 100 weeks as number 1 by mid-2025. That is, I think, a proxy for staying power.
Indeed. The so-called family slam in Australia includes her father Peter winning the 1998 Australian Open in tennis, sister Jessica winning the Women's Australian Open in 2012, brother Sebastian securing the 2018 Australian Open boys title, and Nelly adding the 2019 ISPS Handa Women's Australian Open. As for chronology, two early inflection points. At age 14, she made the cut at the 2013 U.S. Women's Open, a strong signal of precocity. And in 2016, she won her first professional event, the Sioux Falls Great Life Challenge on the Symetra Tour, securing her LPGA card for 2017. The slope of the line was steep from the start. Speaking of slopes, a personal note. As someone who has spent too many evenings fitting models to streaks, I appreciate that 5 straight wins in 2024 are the kind of outlier that would make a statistician check the data source twice. In our case, the source checks out. Also, her rebound capacity, triple bogey at Pelican in 2021, then winning minutes later, belongs in any lecture on resilience.
I think the next thing we should talk about is the big questions. Maybe 3 of them, so we do not get lost in the fairway.
This logically leads us to 3 inquiries. First, a historical question. What explains her early career maturity? Second, a counterfactual. How would a full season loss to the 2022 blood clot have altered the arc that produced the 2024 streak and the 2026 majors? Third, an open question. What will be her long-term impact on women's golf, from participation to sponsorship markets? On the first, the evidence of early maturity is unusually coherent. Korda made the U.S. Women's Open cut at 14, won elite junior events like the Kathy Whitworth Invitational and Ping Invitational in 2014-2015, represented the United States in the Junior Solheim Cup in 2015, winning away in Germany, trained at IMG Academy in Bradenton, and then, upon turning professional in 2016, won on the Symetra Tour and earned LPGA promotion. By 2018, she logged a top 10 at the U.S. Women's Open and captured her maiden LPGA title in Taiwan. We can infer that competitive poise, travel tolerance, and early exposure to major championship environments were all in place before her 20th birthday.
I'm curious about the significance of that 2013 cut at age 14. Is it just a nice anecdote, or does it predict something measurable?
It's crucial to understand that making a major championship cut at 14 is a strong predictor of future elite status. Not because of one weekend's strokes gained, but because it evidences course management, emotional regulation, and technical readiness against a global field. When we add her subsequent junior titles, top 10 world amateur ranking indicators, and the 2016 professional promotion by merit, the pattern is not anecdotal. It is deterministic within reasonable bounds. In simpler terms, the signal-to-noise ratio was very high, very early. On to our next point, the counterfactual. Suppose the 2022 blood clot had removed her from competition for the entire season. The record we actually have shows a mid-year return, a tied 8th at the U.S. Women's Open, a playoff at the Meijer, a runner-up in Canada, and then a title defense at the Pelican in November that restored her to world number 1, with 8 LPGA top 10s for the year. If we zero out that entire vector, the rankings decay in 2023 would start from a lower base, sponsorship momentum would be less immediate, and the 2024 5-win run would be arithmetically harder to stage, because form cycles often propagate from the prior 6 to 12 months of competition.
If I may suggest a practical angle, After a medical setback, how likely is it to come back with that kind of dominance? Was 2024 an exception that proves the rule, or the rule for her?
We can answer empirically. She managed surgery in early 2022, returned by June with a top 10 at a major, played into a playoff immediately thereafter, and secured a win that fall to retake number one. In 2023, after back pain and selective scheduling, she still posted a top 3 at the Chevron and regained world number one in April. She added another LET win and contributed in the Solheim Cup. Then in 2024, she strung 5 consecutive LPGA wins capped by the Chevron, added a 6th at Mizuho, and a 7th at the Annika in November. By 2026, she added 2 more majors, and the season opened with podium finishes in every start through May. The pattern suggests resilience plus strategic workload management, rather than a one-off flare. In conclusion, post-recovery dominance was improbable in the abstract, and yet consistent with her particular variance profile. Let's shift focus to the open question of long-term impact. First, participation pathways. The AJGA Nelly Invitational at the Concession creates a branded junior waypoint while she is still in her competitive prime, which is unusual and therefore influential. Second, market signaling. Her 2024 earnings profile, sponsors across equipment, apparel, and airlines, and a 2025 cameo in Happy Gilmore 2 indicate cross-audience reach. Third, team culture. A strong foursomes record in the Solheim Cup and key points in the 2024 U.S. victory provide leadership templates. Add to this the narrative gravity of an Olympic gold, and you have a portfolio that can move broadcast windows, junior sign-ups, and boardroom risk calculations in women's sports.
What comes to mind next is the broader implications. Could this accelerate parity debates, prize money, scheduling, visibility? And does being a role model change performance expectations in a way we should actually study?
Arguably, yes, on all counts. On economics, we need better estimates of sponsorship return on investment tied to elite streaks, and viewership elasticity in response to dominant narratives. Korda's 5-win run is an ideal natural experiment. On rankings literacy, we should study how 2-year rolling averages, which once allowed her to regain number one without playing in November 2021, can be communicated to fans to reduce perceived opacity. On health management, her 2022-2024 case suggests that scheduling sophistication can coexist with peak output. This should inform federations and coaches. Finally, on parity, her trajectory strengthens the case for investment in women's purses, course access, and global scheduling symmetry. Because the audience for excellence is not gender-specific, it is excellence-specific.
Maybe it is worth noting one more cultural thread. The family slam story seems to make sports feel intergenerational, tennis and golf feeding one another's discipline. Isn't it interesting how a single family can become a narrative device for sponsors and juniors alike?
Indeed. And if you will, the transnational aspect of that story, Australia, Europe, North America, aligns well with the LPGA's global footprint. When a player wins in France by 8, prevails in Taiwan twice, captures the Olympic gold, and later conquers the U.S. Women's Open at Riviera, the composite image is not regional, it is planetary. That is helpful both for the sport and for those of us who enjoy coherent data sets.
To shift gears a bit, can we quickly connect resilience to pressure moments? I keep thinking about Pelican in 2021, the triple bogey on 17, and then the playoff win. And the 2024 drive-on, eagle plus birdie to force extras. It reads like a case study in resetting attention.
This brings us to psychology under constraint. Her playoff ledger: wins in Taiwan 2019, Pelican 2021, Drive on 2024, Seripak 2024. Narrow playoff losses at the 2020 ANA Inspiration and the 2022 Meyer demonstrates exposure to volatility with a net positive outcome. In game theoretic terms, she adjusts strategy on the margin without abandoning process. That is a hallmark of durable champions.
So I guess that kind of sums it up. She is a major champion, an Olympic gold medalist, and, by mid-2026, a 4-time major winner with over 100 weeks at number 1. Also a benchmark for modern women's golf narratives.
To summarize, we defined Nelly Korda's profile. We examined early maturity evidenced by a U.S. Women's Open cut at 14 and rapid professional ascent. We explored the counterfactual of a lost 2022 and why her actual resilient return mattered for 2024 and 2026. And we considered her prospective impact on participation, markets, and policy. For further study, I recommend The Evolution of Women's Sports, especially the interaction of scheduling, storytelling, and economics. As always, more data will make us happier than a well-struck iron at Riviera.
Thank you, Professor. And thank you to everyone listening. This was helpful to think through, actually.
This concludes our lecture for today. Keep learning, keep asking better questions, and if you must triple bogey, do it with a plan.